grafik ini adalah membandingkan antara uang sekolah, uang makan, ya uang living semua overall cost lah ya, sekolah di China, di China atau di negara lain dengan kualitas pendidikannya. Seperti kita beli barang, kita maunya beli barang dengan harga murah, tapi kualitas barangnya tinggi, gitu kan? Pendidikan pun begitu. Kita maunya bayar serendah-rendahnya, tapi mendapatkan kualitas pendidikan yang tinggi, gitu ya. Nah ini kita bisa lihat ya, misalnya kita ambil Singapura, ya negaranya memang mahal, kita tahu semua ya Singapura mahal, tapi mutu pendidikannya sebetulnya cuma di ranking 6, ya kan? Sama juga Indonesia, ya pendidikannya di uang kuliahnya di uang overall cost ya untuk pendidikan di ranking 9, tapi pendidikannya mutunya tuh di ranking 11, ya kan? Nah, kalau China kebalikan, biaya pendidikan murah, ranking 13, ya, semakin ke bawah berarti semakin murah ya, 13, dan mutu pendidikannya di ranking 5. Kita maunya seperti itu, beli barang murah tapi kualitas bagus kan? Nah, itulah yang ditawarkan oleh China. Dan ini survei dilakukan di tahun 2014, ya. Saya mencari survei terbaru, saya belum menemukan, tapi saya bisa prediksi bahwa nanti kalau misalnya ada nih survei terbaru yang sejenis seperti ini, justru akan lebih jomplang lagi karena biaya pendidikan di China tidak naik signifikan, ya. Lalu pendidikan di China dalam beberapa tahun ini naiknya signifikan sekali secara mutu ya, secara ranking dunia dia naiknya signifikan sekali. Jadi kalau ada survei lebih baru lagi, pasti lebih jomplang lagi antara biaya pendidikan dan mutu pendidikan. Pasti lebih signifikan lagi perbedaannya. Ya. Dan ini pun saya rasa ya, ini kan ada sekitar 11.000 US dollar ya per tahun ya. Ini saya pikir sih sebetulnya udah terlalu mahal sih. Kalau pengalaman kami, murid kami sekolah di China itu nggak sampai segitu. Biasanya antara 90-100 juta setahun. Udah all in ya, makan, tempat tinggal, tiket pesawat, all in. Nggak sampai. Ini kan 11.000 kan udah hampir berapa itu? Hampir 170 juta. Ya nggak semahal itu kalau pengertian kami gitu, pengalaman kami ya. Nah, jadi sekali lagi, ini survei ini unfortunately yang terbaru adalah di 2014, tidak ada yang lebih baru lagi yang bisa saya dapatkan. Dari sini pun kita sudah bisa melihat indikasinya bahwa pendidikan di China itu murah dan mutu pendidikan bagus, gitu ya. Ini ada lagi data yang lain, ini juga sama ya, melihat biaya uang sekolah dan berbagai negara. China adalah yang termurah saat ini, kurang lebih 400 juta untuk sampai tamat 4 tahun kuliah, dibandingkan dengan negara-negara lain ya, UK, Australia. Kita harus menggali kantong dompet lebih dalam lagi sampai miliaran ya. Nah, terus pendidikan di China murah bukan karena murahan, tapi karena memang banyak subsidi dari pemerintahnya. Kita sekolah, kita bayar uang sekolah, walaupun kita bayar full uang sekolah, itu sebetulnya kita tetap disubsidi, hanya saja kita tidak terasa, kita tidak tahu. Biaya untuk mendidik satu anak, misalnya kita bayar renminbi 25.000 renminbi setahun, itu seharusnya lebih, cuma pemerintah yang mengcover sebagian, kita nggak terasa kita disubsidi. Oke? Lalu makanan juga sama, seperti ini makanan, cuma 18.000, 20.000, di Indonesia aja pun kalian makan seperti ini nggak dapat 20.000, 18.000, betul nggak? Ini makanan di kantin, bersih, sehat, dan murah. Kenapa murah? Karena disubsidi oleh kampusnya. Jadi ini murah bukan karena murahan atau karena kotor atau asal-asalan, tapi murah karena memang disubsidi. Ini setiap hari ada dinas kesehatan yang datang mengecek semua makanan yang akan disajikan ke murid. Jadi kantin itu harus siapkan sampel, ya nanti orang dari kebersihan, dinas kesehatan yang datang mengecek. Nah, kira-kira seperti ini tampilan kampus di China ya, selalu besar sekali. Rata-rata setiap kampus itu, universitas itu ada danaunya atau ada pond atau ada waduk ya. Jadi kita bisa duduk, bisa santai, bisa tenang ya. Atau kalau kalian hobi olahraga, fasilitas olahraga juga banyak. Pokoknya kampusnya besar-besar sampai kita capek jalan di dalam kampus itu, capek. Rata-rata banyak murid itu yang beli sepeda karena saking besarnya kampus itu ya. Beda sama Indonesia ya, satu gedung, lantainya tinggi, terus sempit gitu ya. Di China terbalik, China itu luas banget. Seperti ini kondisi kampusnya, ya. Kamarnya seperti ini. Ada yang ditempati oleh 2 orang, ada yang ditempati oleh 4 orang. Lalu ini juga menjadi pertanyaan dari orang tua murid, China aman nggak sih? China aman nggak gitu ya? Banyak sekali pertanyaan seperti itu. Saya bisa pastikan China itu aman banget, ya aman banget. Pengalaman kami begini, kami sudah memulai studi ke China itu sudah dari tahun 2000. Minimal 1 tahun kami mengantar murid ke China itu antara 2 sampai 4 kali. 2 untuk pendidikan formal, 2 kali lagi untuk pendidikan yang study tour. Jadi total ada 4 kali setahun. Dan yang sekali berangkat itu minimal 4 guru, 4 lause ke 4 kota berbeda. Rata-rata mereka tinggal, 1 orang itu tinggal di China itu 1 bulan, mengurusi dari satu kampus ke kampus lain. Oke, jadi setiap hari mereka dari kamar hotel traveling ke kampus, pulang lagi ke hotel malam harinya. 4 orang kali 2 sampai 4 kali setahun, 30 hari. Itu kalau kita kalikan angkanya menjadi ribuan. Artinya ribuan kali kita keluar masuk hotel, ya pulang malam jam 11, jam 12, bahkan jam 1 pagi dengan public transport, ya. Rata-rata konsultan kami juga perempuan semua. Nggak pernah dalam ribuan kali itu ada sekalipun yang terganggu. Ya baik dirampok atau dilecehkan oleh ya preman pinggir jalan, tidak pernah ada. Dari ribuan kali kami keluar masuk, pulang jam 11, jam 12, jam 1 pagi, tidak pernah ada sekalipun ada gangguan. Sebegitu amannya China. Begitu loh. Kalau kita di Amerika jam 10 malam, kita mana berani ke park, ke taman atau subway, bisa-bisa kena todong, bisa-bisa nyawa melayang. Ya. Nah, jadi salah satu yang membuat China aman adalah China ini banyak menerapkan CCTV di seluruh China. Kota-kota besar China semua di-cover dengan CCTV. Total CCTV sekarang adalah bukan 450 juta, tapi sudah 650 juta CCTV terpasang di seantero kota di seluruh China. 650 juta itu sudah sama dengan 3 kali penduduk Indonesia. Oke, so kalau orang yang berbuat jahat, kalau dia ketangkap kamera, sudah pasti ketangkap. Karena kamera ini bukan asal kamera biasa ya. Ini semua teknologi ada di dalam kamera ini, high definition, artificial intelligence, face recognition, whatever teknologi mereka masukkan ke kamera-kamera ini. Jadi bagi orang yang mau berbuat jahat, mereka harus mencari tempat melakukan aksinya yang tidak ada kamera, yang mana sangat sulit mencari karena memang ya pemerintah memang maunya tercover semua gitu ya. Jadi makanya itu membuat kejahatan tidak bisa berkembang. Orang berbuat mau jahat pun susah cari tempat untuk beraksi gitu ya. Nah, jadi itu yang membuat China aman gitu. Kalau di negara lain kan sering terjadi penembakan, ada yang meninggal atau apa gitu kan. Nah, jadi kalau China nggak pernah tuh ada kejadian-kejadian seperti itu. Nah, sekarang kita masuk ke lebih dalam, kita membahas tentang suatu sistem pendidikan yang bisa membantu kalian untuk berkuliah di China dengan lebih baik, lebih lancar, mendapatkan beasiswa pula, ya lalu ada supportnya, ada dukungannya setelah kalian masuk ke university, masih tetap ada dukungan dari institusi ini, ya institusi ini namanya China Campus Network. China Campus Network itu adalah suatu konsorsium pendidikan yang terdiri dari 37 universitas top di China. Lalu kami mempunyai kantor ada di 12 negara. Kalau di Indonesia ada di kami, ya. Lalu ada beberapa tempat namanya IP Center, tempat di mana anak-anak itu belajar kelas persiapan kuliah. Gitu. Ada di 11 lokasi di seluruh China, ya. Lalu setelah itu anak-anak yang ambil foundation itu mereka berhak untuk bergabung di suatu komunitas yang diselenggarakan oleh Alibaba, ya. Mereka ada satu program namanya Global Digital Talent. Setelah itu kalau kalian tamat alumni dari Global Digital Talent, kalian bisa bergabung mereka punya kayak alumninya lah ya. Jadi nanti di sana ya bisa terjadi pertukaran bisnis atau pertukaran ide atau apa gitu ya. Nah, lalu CCN juga banyak menawarkan beasiswa. dari beasiswa full scholarship sampai yang partial scholarship ya. Dari 37 universitas adalah di sini semua ya. Ada di Beijing, Shanghai, Xi'an gitu ya, Tianjin ada di sini semua. Lalu dari daftar ini, nama universitas ini kita mencoba memasukkan ke dalam ranking dunia. Universitas ini termasuk ranking bagus nggak sih di dunia? Bisa kita lihat ini daftarnya ya. QS tahun 2022, Fudan di 31 ya, Berkeley malah di 32, Sydney, University of Sydney itu ada di 38, New York University ada di 42. Lalu kalau ini dulu saya kuliah di sini, Monash University Melbourne itu ada di 58 ya. Shanghai Jiaotong ada di 50. Lalu yang saya kuningkan ini adalah universitas di Indonesia sebagai buat adik-adik untuk perbandingan gitu ya. Indonesia universitas yang tertinggi rankingnya itu Gajah Mada University, sekarang bukan UI ya, tapi Gajah Mada University rankingnya yang tertinggi pun sudah di 254 ya. Jadi bisa dilihat ranking-ranking universitas di China dalam hal ini khususnya adalah universitas yang kami wakili, yang diwakili oleh CCN gitu ya. Kualitasnya universitas ini dia punya level sangat baik secara dunia gitu ya. Mungkin adik-adik mau membandingkan dengan di sini CUHK gitu ya, kan ada CUHK di sini ya, ini biasanya incaran anak-anak Indonesia ya di CUHK atau di New York University atau kalau di Australia ya di Monash, di RMIT gitu kan ya. Itu rankingnya ini adalah lokasi-lokasi cabang-cabang kami di seluruh dunia. Dan ini adalah daftar universitas berdasarkan lokasinya di China, ya, peta China. Lalu ini adalah teman-teman kami yang berkumpul dari seluruh dunia. Kami berkumpul di kantor pusatnya Alibaba, gitu ya. Oke, jadi sekarang apa itu foundation? Foundation itu adalah suatu pre-university ya. Uniprep lah, University Preparation yang diselenggarakan oleh CCN, China Campus Network. Kami ada 3 intake dalam setahun. Intake terpanjang adalah rute A, itu berlangsung 1 tahun. Ya, rute B lebih pendek, berlangsung 4-5 bulan. Rute C yang terpendek berlangsung 3 bulan sampai 4 bulan, gitu ya. Jadi yang sekarang kita sedang kita bicarakan ini terutama kita sedang merekrut murid untuk RUC ya, yang nanti dimulai di bulan Mei atau akhir Mei atau awal Juni gitu ya. Jadi masuk ke sini nanti selesainya sekitar bulan Juli sampai sekitar bulan Agustus, lalu September di tahun yang sama berarti kan Mei kalian masuk ke CCN Foundation, lalu bulan Agustus tamat CCN. Bulan Septembernya Anda sudah kuliah gitu. Jadi nggak ada waktu yang terbuang sama sekali. Jadi kalian nggak akan seperti ketinggalan 1 tahun dengan teman-teman kamu yang kuliah di Indonesia, gitu kan? Nggak akan ketinggalan. Kenapa? Karena ya ini masa tunggu. Kamu kan tamat SMA kan bulan Mei, bulan April, bulan Mei. Ya masih nunggu kuliah, kalian ambil foundation. Begitu kuliah dimulai, foundation pun sudah selesai gitu. Jadi nggak ada waktu yang terbuang sama sekali ya. Lalu di sini ada tulis HSK 4 atau 5 untuk masuk ke foundation yang grup C ya. Ini nggak usah dikhawatirkan karena ini buat yang nanti buat kuliah pakai pengantar bahasa Mandarin. Kalau kuliahnya berpengantar bahasa Inggris, HSK ini nggak disyaratkan. Tetap bisa ambil rute C walaupun HSK-nya belum mencapai HSK segini. Tetap bisa mengambil rute C karena nanti kuliahnya kan pakai bahasa Inggris ya. Ini juga ada biayanya ya, 18.500 per the whole course itu berlangsung 3,5 bulan tadi itu ya. Nah, jadi untuk kuliah di China dengan melalui jalur CCN itu ada 3 cara. Cara pertama adalah kalian tamat SMA bulan April, bulan Mei, lalu masuk foundation. Foundationnya bisa yang saya ambil yang ini dulu ya. Yang ini foundationnya bisa ada yang setahun, ada yang 5 bulan, atau yang 4 bulan. Ya, kalau yang setahun ya tentunya kalian kuliah tahun berikutnya, nggak bisa kuliah tahun ini dong, ya kan? Kalau yang bisa kuliah tahun ini adalah yang ambil yang rute C, tapi ini disyaratkan harus punya HSK 4 atau 5, gitu ya. Tapi kalau kalian misalnya maunya kuliah pakai bahasa Inggris, berarti kamu pakai yang ini, tamat SMA, ambil rute C, HSK berapapun oke, nggak jadi masalah. Kalian cuma perlu waktu 4 bulan, melengkapi foundation, unit prep ya, unit preparation 4 bulan. Habis itu kalian bisa kuliah pakai yang berbahasa Inggris. Ya, lalu bisa mendapatkan beasiswa berapa nanti ada slide berikutnya. Lalu setelah itu dari China Campus Network memberikan support 360 degree support. Artinya selama Anda kuliah itu masih ada support dari CCN. Walaupun Anda sudah masuk ke jenjang kuliah ya, tetap ada support dari CCN gitu. Ya. Lalu cara ketiga, ini kan cara satu kuliah pakai Mandarin. Tadi itu ya, kamu ambil foundation bisa setahun, bisa 5 bulan, bisa 4 bulan. Kalau yang kedua, caranya adalah kalian ambil foundation, tapi nanti kuliahnya pakai bahasa Inggris, jadi foundationnya itu nggak harus punya HSK tertentu. Cara ketiga adalah sebelum kamu SMA, misalnya adik-adik nih, ada adik-adik atau kamu sekarang baru SMA 1, SMA 2. Wah, ini foundation ini menarik nih, saya pengen ikut foundation. Bisa dimulai dari Indonesia. Jadi selagi kalian SMA, kalian ambil foundation, jadi jalan berbarengan. Jadi SMA kalian selesai, foundation kalian pun selesai. Jadi ke China langsung kuliah, nggak perlu seperti ini lagi nih. Ini menghabiskan waktu 1 tahun atau 5 bulan atau 4 bulan setelah tamat SMA, nggak usah. Kalau tipe ini, kalian langsung tamat SMA sudah bisa langsung kuliah, karena kalian udah mengambil foundationnya itu dicicil selama setahun atau 2 tahun gitu. Ya, jadi kalau bagi ada adik-adik yang tertarik dan selagi masih SMA 1 atau di SMA 2, bisa ambil program ini. Program ini tidak akan mengganggu pelajaran SMA kalian karena mereka sudah atur waktu belajarnya itu adalah di malam hari atau di weekend atau di masa ada liburannya. Jadi mereka sudah atur seperti itu. Jadi bisa nyambi, bisa berjarang bareng gitu ya. Nah, ini sama, kalau kalian ambil program ini tetap nanti akan mendapat beasiswa dan supporting 360 degree juga sama ya. Jadi sekali lagi CCN itu menawarkan tiga macam program yang fleksibel. Pertama, foundation kuliahnya pakai bahasa Mandarin ya, foundation nanti kuliahnya pakai bahasa Inggris. Lalu foundation selagi kalian masih SMA ya, ada 3. Oke, jelas ya. Terus ada yang bertanya nih, foundation ini nanti diarahkannya dibikinnya diselenggaranya pakai bahasa Mandarin. Terus nanti kalian kuliahnya pakai bahasa Inggris. Lalu ada yang bertanya, lah kan saya mau kuliahnya pakai bahasa Inggris, kenapa foundationnya pakai bahasa Mandarin? Ya, tetap ada ininya, tetap kalian harus menguasai Mandarin. Penjelasannya ada 4 poin ini. Pertama, kalian bisa berbahasa Mandarin itu penting karena pada saat kalian kuliah pakai bahasa Inggris sebelum tamat itu dari universitas mewajibkan kalian harus punya level HSK tertentu, HSK 4 atau HSK 5 tergantung universitasnya. Inggris tetap nanti universitas minta kalian punya kemampuan Mandarin tertentu sebelum tamat ya. Jadi walaupun kalian ujian selesai semua, kalau belum mencapai HSK yang ditentukan, disyaratkan kamu nggak bisa tamat gitu ya. Jadi foundation ini berguna supaya kalian bisa cepat mencapai HSK tertentu, jadi nggak tertunda karena gara-gara Mandarin kamu nggak bisa maju terus gitu ya. Lalu nilai foundation ini yang diselenggarakan pakai bahasa Mandarin ini akan menjadi basis pertimbangan buat nanti kamu dapat beasiswa jenis apa di universitasnya. Jadi CCN dengan 37 universitasnya itu mereka ada kerjasama, mereka ada review, setiap anak punya prestasi ya. Jadi dari hasil ujian kalian yang di foundation, yang Mandarin itu pakai bahasa Mandarin, nanti menentukan beasiswa apa yang didapat. Lalu kalau kalian lebih cepat menguasai Mandarin, itu akan membuat hidup kalian lebih nyaman di China, ya kan? Memang di kelas pakai bahasa Inggris, tapi di luar kelas pasti pakai Mandarin. Kalian mau makan, ya mau beli buku, mau gunting rambut, mau beli baju, kan semua pakai Mandarin. Kalau nggak bisa menguasai Mandarin, ya di awal-awal kalian akan kesulitan gitu ya. Mau menawar harga juga nggak tahu ngomongnya seperti apa, ya jadi agak repot gitu. Jadi semakin cepat kita menguasai Mandarin, semakin mempermudah hidup kita. Dan karena kita udah menguasai Mandarin basic, itu akan membuat kita lebih cepat menguasai Mandarin berikutnya, gitu loh. Ya, kalau sudah menguasai basic, menguasai berikutnya akan lebih mudah, gitu ya. Lalu terakhir adalah karena kamu bisa Mandarin, kamu bisa bergaul dengan orang yang bukan hanya teman sekelas yang pakai bahasa Inggris, kalian bisa bergaul dengan siapa aja. Mahasiswa lokal yang bukan dari program bahasa Inggris pun kita bisa ngomong sama mereka pakai Mandarin, membentuk jaringan kerja, ya kan? Kita bisa ngomong sama penduduk di sana, apa semua kita bisa pakai Mandarin. Itu membuat kita pergaulan kita luas, nggak cuma sebatas dengan bergaul yang bisa berbahasa Inggris saja. Jadi pergaulan kita luas, membentuk networking-nya luas, membentuk pertemanan yang luas. Siapa tahu orang-orang ini suatu hari bisa menjadi teman partner bisnis kita, ya. Lalu universitas yang menyelenggarakan bahasa program S1-nya dan S2-nya berbahasa Inggris, ini ada di sini daftarnya. Ini adalah universitasnya, ya. Universitasnya ada di sini. Jurusan ditawarkan itu banyak, belasan, ya. Semua berbahasa Inggris. Nanti kita bisa lihat, ini adalah yang 3 ini adalah universitas unggulan. Mereka adalah unggulan di daftar. Jadi kan tadi kita bilang QS ya, QS itu punya negara barat, punya ranking. Kalau di China mereka ada bikin rankingnya sendiri pakai kode 985. Jadi ranking berdasarkan list atau daftar dari 985, 3 universitas ini termasuk. Lalu ada lagi daftar ranking yang satu lagi yang berbeda, yaitu yang namanya daftar 211. Ketiga universitas ini termasuk. Lalu yang ini ada rankingnya tersendiri, beda lagi, gitu ya. Nah, terus jurusannya ini berdasarkan jurusan. Tadi kan ini berdasarkan universitasnya ya. Ini berdasarkan jurusan. Kalau computer science ya, science and engineering ada di sini universitasnya. Ya. Lalu bisnis ada di sini. Ini singkatan-singkatan mungkin adik-adik masih belum ngerti ya. Ini singkatan apa? Lalu yang humanities ada di universitas ini. Ini semua program diselenggarakan dalam bahasa Inggris. Kalau adik-adik ada yang tertarik, misalnya di e-commerce, ini saya tertarik di e-commerce, ini apa ini nggak ngerti ini singkatan, nggak apa-apa, bicara aja dengan kita akan kasih tahu ini singkatannya apa, ini universitas ini singkatan namanya apa gitu ya, biar apa namanya lebih jelas. Lalu ini sama ya daftarnya, hanya kita bikin lebih animatif. Ya, ini adalah jurusan-jurusan yang diselenggarakan pakai bahasa Inggris ya tadi itu ya, dari kategori business management, dari kategori science, dari kategori humanities. Ini jurusan-jurusannya ya. Sama dengan daftar ini, daftar di atas tadi, hanya saja kita bikin yang lebih animasi lah ya. Oke, lalu ada juga yang bertanya, CCN mahal nggak sih kalau belajar di CCN itu? Ini saya kasih gambaran ya, biar ada perbandingannya. Jadi untuk rute C itu kira-kira 41 juta, ya, the whole thing 3,5 bulan itu 41 juta, dengan jam belajar 330 jam. Berarti dengan sendirinya uang kuliah, uang belajarnya sejamnya itu ada di sana ya, 124.000 sekian per jam. Ini ada angkanya per jam ya. Angka 124.500 per jam itu kan udah sama seperti kita ambil les-lesan di Indonesia ya kan, kita ambil bimbel pun kira-kira segini bayarnya. Nah, ini saya membandingkan dengan ada suatu institusi pendidikan yang juga menawarkan sekolah ke China, lalu dia memberikan les kepada murid-muridnya ya. Ini biayanya segini, 20 juta untuk persiapan matematika. 20 juta untuk persiapan matematika selama 2 bulan. 1 minggu 3 kali 2 jam, berarti seminggu cuma 6 jam. 6 jam kali 2 bulan, biayanya 20 juta. Lalu persiapan Mandarinnya itu sama 15 juta, sama 2 bulan, 1 minggu 6 jam. Jadi kalau kita totalkan itu 35 juta untuk 2 bulan. Ya, 1 bulannya per jamnya ya untuk belajar Mandarin 1 jam, belajar matematika 1 jam, itu biayanya sudah 730.000. per jam, maksudnya per 2 jam lah ya, per 2 jam, 1 jam untuk Mandarin, 1 jam untuk matematika. Coba perbandingannya kan jauh sekali. Dan yang seperti ini tuh tidak ada support apa-apa, nggak ada beasiswa. Setelah kalian belajar 2 bulan selesai, ya udah bye-bye. Nggak tahu deh kalian nanti kuliah lancar apa nggak lancar, ya udah nggak ada urusan lagi, gitu kan. Kalau CCN nggak, jadi dia ada support 360 derajat, jadi kalian lagi kuliah pun mereka tetap support dari belakang. Ada material-material yang bisa kalian akses di sana, gitu. Jadi sebetulnya CCN tidak mahal. Dan belum lagi mereka menawarkan beasiswa. Ya, kita bayar 41 juta untuk foundation, kita bisa kembalikan uang itu lewat beasiswa yang kita terima. Ya. Lalu guru-guru pengajarnya mempunyai kualifikasi yang tinggi, rata-rata mereka itu dari sekolah-sekolah yang juara menyelenggarakan foundation. Di sana itu sekolah-sekolah itu ada rankingnya, ada kayak perlombaannya gitu loh. Foundation mana yang mendapatkan yang selalu juara. Nah, inilah yang dipakai oleh CCN. Ya. Lalu pengajaran math, ekonomi, fisika semuanya dalam bahasa Mandarin. Sama kayak ini 20 juta ini juga dalam Mandarin gitu. Cuma beda harganya jauh sekali ya. Lalu habis itu kita dibantu untuk didaftarkan ke salah satu dari 37 universitas top di China, lalu menikmati beasiswa, lalu ada support 360 derajat, lalu kita punya kesempatan untuk masuk ke program eksklusif yang diselenggarakan oleh Alibaba, lalu setelah itu kita menjadi alumninya dari perkumpulan itu, alumni Alibaba ini. Ya, di sana juga kita akan menuntut networking kan. Nah, jadi itulah value yang ditawarkan oleh CCN, tidak mahal tapi hasil yang kita dapat banyak sekali ya. Beasiswa yang ditawarkan untuk program yang pakai bahasa Inggris. Yang pakai bahasa Inggris adalah seperti ini, beasiswanya A0, A1 sampai A3 gitu ya. Jadi tergantung dari nilai SMA kalian dan tergantung dari nilai foundation kalian dapat berapa. Jadi itu disesuaikan dengan beasiswanya. Kalau yang paling tinggi itu dapat beasiswa 100% uang sekolah free, dapat akomodasi free, dapat uang saku free. Ada 3 yang dikasih. Ya, almost nggak usah keluar apa-apa. Uang saku ini bisa dipakai buat makan. Almost nggak usah keluar apa-apa. Anda hanya perlu beli tiket pesawat aja sama bikin visa. Ya. Nah, terus ini saya mau coba membuat simulasi. Biaya RUC plus kuliah 4 tahun itu kira-kira orang tua harus keluar uang berapa? Kira-kira setahun orang tua harus keluar uang 85 juta dengan asumsi mendapat beasiswa tidak full, 50% saja. Kalau anak kita mendapat beasiswa full 100%, maka biayanya akan turun menjadi 63 juta per tahun. Dan itu sudah all in ya, sudah termasuk uang sekolah atau tidak ada uang sekolah kalau memang itu sudah free, lalu makan 3 kali sehari, dapat asrama, tiket pulang pergi setahun sekali, asuransi, textbook, visa, semuanya lah, all include. Itu biayanya udah kita hitungkan di dalam. Yang belum termasuk hanya uang jajan. Ya, uang jajan di luar kantin. Kalau makan di kantin 3 kali sehari itu sudah termasuk. Termasuk 1 minggu makan di kantin pun sudah termasuk. Yang belum termasuk adalah anak kita kalau makan di luar, jajan di luar, itu belum termasuk. Jadi biayanya cukup murah, 63 juta per tahun atau 85 juta per tahun. Ya. Ini udah di akhir dari acara saya ya. Ini saya mau menunjukkan situasi seperti apa sih kalau kita sekolah lewat CCN China Campus Network. Ini adalah murid-murid kami yang ada di Shanghai. Ini asrama mereka tinggal di sini di kamar-kamar di atas. Ya, jadi kami datang mengunjungi mereka. Kondisinya seperti ini. Ini adalah kondisi anak-anak yang kita airport handling di Jakarta sebelum mereka terbang ke Xi'an untuk bergabung di CCN Xi'an. Lalu ini adalah saat mereka dijemput di Xi'an. Mereka udah terbang, tiba di Xi'an, dijemput oleh perwakilan dari China Campus Network untuk dimasukkan ke asramanya masing-masing, kampusnya masing-masing. Ini mereka, ya. Ini beda lagi. Ini di rombongan beda lagi. Ini yang ke Shanghai seperti ini. Kami melakukan airport handling di Jakarta, lalu mereka dijemput di Shanghai, Ya. Nah, kondisi belajar seperti ini, teman-teman kalian. Kalau kalian kuliah di China ya, foundation di China ya. Kalau sekarang kan online, jadi nggak bisa duduk dalam satu kelas. Tapi kalau kondisi mereka masih belajar sebelum pandemi ya seperti ini. Jadi teman kita dari mana aja, kiri, kanan, depan, belakang itu warna kulit, warna rambut bisa beda-beda semua ya. Jadi inilah pergaulan internasional. Jadi kira-kira seperti itu pengenalan saya tentang why you have to study in China dan why you have to choose CCN gitu ya. Nah, untuk selanjutnya akan ada presentasi dari Dr. Sabrina untuk memperkenalkan lebih lanjut tentang program apa namanya CCN-nya ya. Thank you. Itu ada nomor telepon kami di bawah. Kalau ada yang mau konsultasi lebih lanjut dengan saya boleh atau dengan konsultan kami yang lain juga boleh, silakan dicatat aja ya. Terima kasih.
Ya, terima kasih kepada Pak Tanjung atas presentasi yang telah disampaikan, informasi yang sangat jelas. Semoga teman-teman semua mendapat informasi awal yang cukup untuk studi ke China. Oke, selanjutnya pembicara kedua yaitu wakil dari Direktur China Campus Network, yaitu Sabrina Lause. Kepada Sabrina Lause, waktu dan tempat saya persilahkan.
Hello, everyone. Greetings from Shanghai. I hope all of you are doing well. I'm Sabrina Young, the Vice President of China Campus Network. It is my great pleasure to meet all our students and parents online. I think it's especially precious for the moment as the whole world is still fighting against the pandemic. Although that different country has very different strategy against the pandemic, but I think most of all, it's very important for you and all your beloved ones stay safe and sound. Well, we think that despite of all the unexpected situation and troubles happening in life, but life must move on and your study must move on. Abroad, I hope you could come to study in China and study with China Campus Network. And I'd like to spend a little bit time to introduce you about what is CCN and how, why we are helpful to all of the students coming to China. So we are a consortium of 37 leading Chinese universities providing international students with a one-stop solution before, during, and after your studies in China. In terms of the academic programs we can provide to you, and in terms of all sorts of career or educational services we can provide for international students. And 37 CCN member universities are leading Chinese universities so far, receiving about 20% of the international students to China currently. In terms of the prestige of the universities, we have nearly 20% of our member universities are ranked as QS top 300 globally. And 2/3 of our member universities are enlisted in the group of 985 and 211 group, which is a very Chinese evaluation featuring the best quality among the Chinese universities endorsed by Chinese Ministry of Education. Again, I've prepared a small video for you, just for everybody here to have a glance at our CCN member universities, our campus life, our faculties and students. Here we go. Well, it's a very exciting but very short video. I think a lot more. We look forward to you to come to China to explore by yourself. So let's come back to our topic today. So we're talking about these 37 universities, but why we join together, work as a group? I think, as I mentioned, all these 37, we actually have received more than 20% of international students on campus. So based on years of experience helping, receiving international students and helping international students to succeed, and we share a major educational belief is that for many international students coming to do degrees in China, the preparations are not enough for them. So HSK is usually the test students will do, is not enough before you get into a degree, and general Chinese is not enough. And it's easy to get a HSK 3 or 4, or it's easy to get your Chinese, general Chinese, basic Chinese done. But there are actually bigger academic distances facing international students and before they can succeed in the degree studies. So let's talk about what are those academic distances where our member universities believes that should be filled. So I think there are mainly three. And first of all, is the distance between the general Chinese and academic Chinese. Let's think about, you come to China to study, so you're not a tourist. As a student, you're going to sit in the classroom, participate in academic discussion, and taking examinations in Chinese. So there are all sorts of academic and subject vocabularies and terminologies are needed, are essential for you to do that. I'll give you one example here is what we have taken out from the economics book. So from this very short paragraph, you will have an understanding about all the terminologies or vocabularies here, which usually go out of this daily or basic social Chinese. Like it gave you some example like 微观, 均衡, 需求, 供给. These kind of terminologies must be equipped for students before they get into the degree. And the second distance is actually lies in the subject knowledge. So it is a distance between the subject like mathematics, or chemistry, or physics required by your country, by your home country, and the requirement of Chinese students. So for basic subjects like mathematics, I think you must prepare yourself to a reasonable similar level as Chinese high school graduates before they go to Chinese universities. And you must study them in Chinese language. So that's also a huge gap, which we have identified for all the previous international students coming to China. They are not prepared. And the third one, of course, is the distance in culture. So culture difference is also a very important thing for international students to understand, especially the academic culture in the Chinese universities. So including like how to interact with your Chinese professors and how to seek support, how to find resources and how to prepare for examinations, and even how to deal with conflicts between you and your teachers and your peer students. So if you have been prepared that would be very useful for you to succeed in your degree study. Basically, in order to fill in all the gaps, all the distances we have described or discussed just now, and CCN as a consortium, we have created a foundation program to prepare fully our international students before they get into the degree study in terms of the language, in terms of the subjects, in terms of the learning methods. That's our CCN International Foundation Program. And IFP was jointly developed by our member universities and jointly recognized by all 37 existing members, which means that IFP results would be the only evidence and criteria for a student to be considered whether to admit it into the degree or even whether to award the scholarship, what level of scholarship, were all based on IFP results. For any students taking CCN IFP, I think they will be able to enjoy three major benefits, if I can conclude in a way to you. First of all, I think IFP offers worldwide recognition and best quality of education. And if you choose CCN IFP, you're choosing to become classmates of 15 countries' international students. So far, we have more than 3,000 students have joined and graduated successfully from IFP, and going to 37 of CCN member universities doing all different kind of subject or degree programs, and receive the best scholarships for the academic excellence based on the IFP results. And if you are curious about who will be your classmates, will have a look. Out of these 3,000 students, we have more than 1,000 of them from Southeast Asia, including Indonesia, Malaysia, and Thailand. And also you'll be able to have students from Europe, from Russia, from Poland, from Latin American, like including Mexico, Colombia, and many other countries. I think the wide diversity of students' nationality shows there is a high level of recognition of CCN IFP worldwide. Of course, as a recognition is the result of best quality of education. We are the biggest foundation provider for international students in China so far. So we have the best educational methods. We know what to teach to our international students to succeed. And more importantly, we know how to teach to students from different countries, because you're not only from one foreign country, you're from different countries. So with very different basic education system, and you have very different learning habits and learning needs. So that's the best knowledge of CCN IFP. And we also have very good experienced teaching team. Many of IFP teachers are actually from the first group who taught the first ever foundation program 20 years ago in China. So they are most experienced with hundreds and thousands of international students doing foundation preparations. Of course, facilities are also very important to manage our students and teachers' teaching and learning experience. I think especially important is during the pandemic, we've managed to integrate offline online teaching, and global digital campuses serve as a very important learning platform. But I think it's not only during the pandemic. As I said, the pandemic will go away, but the bigger context of digitalization, and this will be very important platform to make our teaching smarter and to make your learning more effective. So that's best facilities only used for international students. Of course, lastly, we need to have quality assurance. Just make sure whenever you take the IFP courses, no matter in China or outside of China or in which city, and the quality will be up to the same standards of your experience. So that's the first major benefits we think we offer to students. But the second one is also fairly important, is we offer wide choices and guarantee for our students. What do we mean by wide choices? I think, as we said, in terms of the universities, we have 37 members. And if you have your geography preference, you want to study in the tier 1 city in Beijing or Shanghai, or you want to study in the culturally famous and rich city like Xi'an, you want to study in the north of China or in the south of China, we have options for you. That's in terms of universities, but also in terms of the programs, the majors, and both for undergraduate and postgraduates. You will be able to choose from hundreds of degree programs from 37 member universities, following the stream of for business, science, engineering, or humanities. Of course, more options are good, but also we have selected, a lot of recommended programs for our students, which we have based our research and based our survey with employers, with society, with the government. We found these are the areas which the talents are most demanded, and also indicates the strength of our member universities or strength of China for the moment in the era of digital economy. So, for example, under business and management, we have cross-border e-commerce. This is like the most popular program. Digital marketing and big data management. And for science and engineering, we have IoT, AI, software engineering. This is prepare talents for the digital economy or digital transformation. No matter China are good at, or we hope that this is also the future in your own country. And humanities also in terms of, how to update the program, the traditional media or communication, we upgrade to as digital media or business Chinese or digital communication and journalism. So that is the wide options which we think you could choose to best suit your career ambition. It's not enough. You only have wide choices. And more importantly, we provide another level of guarantee to support our students to make sure no matter, to get into the university degree studies or to get the scholarships, places are reserved for IFP graduates. For example, if you have successfully completed the IFP program and you have achieved at least 60% or above, so you are 100% guaranteed to be accepted by at least one of Chinese CCN member universities. If you are quite successful and good at your academic results and achieve 75% average IFP, and then you will be guaranteed with 100% scholarship opportunity by one of CCN member universities. And if you go higher with 85 or 90% of your average, and you will be even awarded with better scholarships. The chance are reserved from the beginning of you. So this is a system we designed to reward the best academic performance. So let me share you some statistics from all previous years. So let's look at all our graduates successfully progressed to our member universities during past 5 or 6 years. We look at, we have more than, from 2016 to 2021, we have more than 2,000 IFP graduated students progressed to 30 of CCN members. And you could say that Shanghai University is one of the top one, the most popular one, receiving 247 IFP graduates to do the degrees at Shanghai University. And if you look further, the following top 5, we have NPU, or Premier Universities Northeastern Polytechnical University, receiving 170, and Xi'an Jiaotong University receiving 151, and Jiangsu University 142, and Tianjin University. I think we have a lot of Southeast Asian students going there, receiving 129 students, and then followed by HIT is 110 students have successfully progressed to these universities. And you could see that I think we have done the statistics about more than 60% of graduates progressed to the premier group, the line 85 and 211 group, as I introduced, that shows the best higher education quality by Ministry of Education. And this also number shows that IFP graduates are highly recognized and welcomed by all our member universities. But I think the higher level of recognition even comes from how scholarships and how many scholarships have been awarded to our graduates. And based on the statistics here, we could have a look like for those who have successfully completed IFP and pass, so more than 90% of them have received scholarships offered by our member universities. And even more exciting is we have 40% of them received full scholarship. So if you look at the actual number here, during past 6 years, we have 675 IFP graduates have received A0 scholarship, CCN A0. So what does A0 type means? It means 100% tuition fee, 100% accommodation fee, and or 100% living allowance, which means you got at least 2 or 3 items of your fees are waived, are offered by universities. So there are also another 568 students received A1 or A2, which means 100% of the tuition fee have been offered by member universities to those students. Of course, I think numbers, actually, how do we say this? Is we are not proud of the scholarships here by number. We're very, very proud of all the best academic results and performances behind all these scholarships, because the system is designed to reward the best. Let's do a comparison. For all our IFP students, I think they have invested more time and more energy and more efforts to better prepare themselves. So I think it's reasonable for them to deserve better university offers and better scholarships. So apart from the first two benefits, I think the last one is also very important when you are considering studying in China, is how efficiently you should get yourself prepared. So CCN IFP is offered in 2 models. One is full-time model, and another one is part-time model. So let's say if you have graduated from your high school, you could choose the full-time IFP, spend 1 year to complete your academic preparations, to get your offer, get your scholarship, and then went to your Chinese universities to do degree within a year. Of course, if you have certain level of Chinese, like HSK 3 or 4, you could choose the program of 18 weeks or 11 weeks. A shorter one, but you do that full time. But what if, for students who are actually currently, let's say you are in high school year 1, and you want to get started, you've decided to go to China, you want to get the preparation as early as possible. So that's where you can choose the IFP part-time. For example, if you choose 2 years program, so starting from your high school year 2, while you are doing your high school study, you can also take different modules of IFP to get you prepared in terms of language and subject and all the other culture modules. We think this one is especially efficient for many students because you don't have to wait right after you graduate from your high school or from your university and you're ready to go to your universities. You don't need to wait for 1 year in between to make all the preparations. So we believe it will be stronger academic preparations because the time you have engaged to start preparing yourself is longer. And then it's safer because you have a longer period of time. You don't need to face all the pressure at one go with academic and life when you do this kind of full-time program. That's probably better for some of the students. And it's quicker because you don't need to wait for 1 year. There is 1 year saved if you go in parallel with your high school study. And finally, it's also financially lower threshold because number one, you saved 1 year, you saved a certain kind of expenditure. Number two, part-time model will allow you to pay by installment. So financially, it's less pressured for all the students to consider. So that's about why some people would think part-time is also a good solution for them. But no matter it's part-time or full-time, I think all as a purpose is designed to prepare you fully and also as early as possible and more efficiently. We hope that this is all at your option and you could choose one which suits you best. That's pretty much all the content for today. And I think no matter what we talk about, why you should come to China or what kind of benefits, the 3 major benefits we can offer to our students. We hope you're convinced you can choose to study in China and to study with CCN. So I'd like to finish my presentation by sharing the good news from our last 2021 cohort of IFP graduates. They actually graduated from last July and done a very excellent, outstanding academic job and many of them received the most desirable university offers with best scholarships. So I really want to share this good news with you, and I hope you can be part of this good news, of this success in the near future. So I look forward to seeing all of you very soon. But before that, please do keep safe. Thank you very much. Here we go.
Oke, halo selamat sore semuanya. Untuk sekarang kita akan segera masuk ke sesi tanya jawab ya. Oh sorry, masih ada satu presentasi lagi dari pihak CCN dari Anna ya. Oke, so Anna.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
So go ahead.
Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, yeah, it's
That's great.
still loading right now.
Okay, hello everyone. I hope that you're having a very nice afternoon today with us. So for my part, actually, I would like to tell you a little bit more about our application support, as well as our preparation program that we have for degree programs here at Chinese universities that are actually taught in English. So this program, we actually call it International Foundation Program for English Taught Degree Programs. And later on, because it's quite a mouthful, right, I will relate to it as IFP for EP. So I hope you're not too confused. So before I actually jump into our program, I would like to very briefly introduce myself. So my name is Ana Zupan, and I come from Slovenia, which is a very small country in Europe. And actually, I just graduated from Zhejiang University with my master's degree last year. And this master's degree was actually also taught in English language. And I've had this dream of coming to China and being in China, having the opportunity to study here for quite some time, actually, because as you know, China is very famous about its amazing and booming economy. So I was thinking to myself, this must be the place to be, the place to develop, the place to start your career, and also the place to potentially start a business. So I actually came to China in 2018. And at first, I didn't go directly into my degree program, but I studied Chinese for 1 whole year, actually. And I have to say that studying of Chinese language really helped me so much, because Chinese, you can use it not only in your day-to-day life. So for example, when you go shopping, or when you talk with the security man at your building, or dealing with some bureaucratical things like going to the bank, creating your phone number, or going to the visa office. But also in a more educational setting. So for example, in the classroom, when you talk with the teacher, it really helps. Of course, they can also speak English, but sometimes it helps if you can also speak a little bit Chinese. And as well as communicating with the teachers, it also helps when you are cooperating with your Chinese classmates. So for example, if you have a project that you have to complete together, it really helps with the communication if you have some basic knowledge of Chinese. And then actually in 2019, I finally entered the degree program. So I studied international relations and management. And I was so happy with how it all turned out, because not only did I have these Chinese classmates, I also had classmates from all around the world. So I met these amazing people from Fiji, from Zimbabwe, from Russia, from the US. And having this opportunity of being in a small space and interacting with so many people with different backgrounds, different ideas, it really helps you to develop as a person. And I feel, because as a master student, you have to write a lot of papers, it also helps you to think about new ideas and develop your arguments and so on. So yeah, last year I finally graduated after 2 years of studying, and then I entered into the working force. So this is somehow about my journey that I had studying in China. But now let's talk about what your potential journey would look like if you choose to come to China and study at a Chinese university, as well as you choose to join CCN. So the first bigger section that I would like to talk about is actually the universities and the programs that you can choose from. So I believe that Sabrina already mentioned that CCN is actually a big consortium of many universities, but for the English taught programs, we actually made a list of universities that we would like you to recommend you especially to choose from. And here we can actually see 9 universities, and you can see that 6 of them are actually from the category 211 and 985. So I'm not completely sure if you're familiar with these categories, but actually this means that these are universities that are that have a really high ranking in China, and they also have a really high ranking in the world. So they are really good universities. And then, of course, we also have these universities that are located in very nice and beautiful cities. So your life there would also be very nice. For example, we have very international cities like Shanghai, we have the capital Beijing, and we have Guangzhou. So these are really the cities with a lot of foreigners that come and do business or diplomacy or any other things. So these are very international cities. Then we have Tianjin. Tianjin is like a business hub. But on the other hand, we also have cities that are very beautiful and very historical, like Xi'an. Of course, you've probably heard of Terracotta Army, and we have Hangzhou. So Hangzhou is actually the city that I studied in, and it's so beautiful. I really recommend you to visit if you have the chance in the future. It's also the city of Alibaba. So it's very digitalized. That's another experience that you can actually have in this city. And then we also have Zhenjiang. Zhenjiang is located in Jiangsu province, and Jiangsu province is actually one of the most developed and also one of the richest provinces in China. So how to actually choose the program, because it can be quite confusing to choose from a long list of different programs. We made this system of 3 areas or 3 clusters of programs. For example, we have humanities. So if you would say that you are interested in the humanities area, we would, for example, suggest you which programs you can choose from here, like international politics or languages or something like that. On the other hand, if you're not that interested in humanities, you could tell us, okay, I would like to study something related to science and engineering, or I would like to study something about business and management, and we would again recommend you what programs you can choose from. So let's look a little bit more in details about these undergraduate programs that we can offer. So here in the science and engineering area, we actually have computer science and engineering, mechanical engineering, chemical engineering, and petroleum engineering. So these are some of the programs that are quite popular and that we would recommend you to choose from. Then in the business area, we have international economics, business, e-commerce, business administration, and finance. And as last in the humanities, we have international Chinese education and English. So here I would like to also share a very interesting fact with you about Chinese universities. So let's say, for example, that you choose e-commerce as the major that you would like to study. So when you start your studying, actually the classes that you would have to take are not just related with e-commerce. So for example, finance, accounting, or computer application, something like that. But there would also be some certain classes about China. And before you can actually graduate, you would have to meet a certain level of Chinese, like somehow higher intermediate level of Chinese just to graduate. So I think it's really a good idea to start preparing early. For example, when you actually enter your degree program, maybe you will be busy with the degree studies, so you won't have that much time to practice your Chinese. So I think it's much better to start preparing early for this process. And on the other hand, you will also have mathematics. And the thing is that Chinese students, when they graduate from high school and they enter university, their mathematics level is actually very high. So compared to us as international students, sometimes it can be a little bit difficult for us to catch on. So again, it's good to start preparing early. Okay, so then we also have a list of postgraduate programs here that we would recommend you to choose from. In the science and engineering area, we have computer science and engineering, mechanical engineering, and chemical engineering. In the business area, we have business administration, finance, tourism management, and logistics management. And in the humanities area, we have law, international relations, we have linguistics and applied linguistics in foreign languages, as well as English language and literature. So here again, I would like to elaborate a little bit more. Actually, when you are choosing your postgraduate program, it is really important that you choose something that is related to what you have studied in your bachelor. So for example, if your bachelor was in let's say English language, then you cannot really choose something from the science and engineering area, because it would be very difficult for you to catch up on all the knowledge that other students have learned in their bachelor degree. So this is just something that you should consider when making these choices. Yeah, I think the scholarship opportunities are always very important to talk about, because as students, of course, we would like to have a very carefree studying, and that we don't worry too much about money and finding a job. Finding a job or relying too much on our parents. So it's really nice if we can find some sort of scholarship opportunity. And at CCN, we actually have 5 different categories of scholarship that we have listed here for you. So the highest one is actually this A01. And this A01, it covers the full tuition fee. It also covers your accommodation, so the dormitory fee, and it also gives you some sort of living allowance. So for example, I was really lucky to get this opportunity to get this scholarship actually, and that meant that I didn't have to pay for the tuition fee. I could live in the dormitory completely for free, and every month also I got a certain amount of money to just cover my daily expenses. And then we also have A02. So A02, it means that again, tuition fee is completely covered, and then you have accommodation or living allowance. So one of these two, but not both. For A1, A1 and A2 are actually quite similar. So A1, your tuition fee is covered. It's 985 or 211 university. But for A2 scholarship, it is at a non-985 or 211 university. And then lastly, we also have A3 scholarship. So A3 scholarship is actually 50% of the tuition fee. So in this second section, I would actually like to talk a little bit more about our CCN guarantee. So what does CCN actually guarantee when it comes to admission and scholarship? I'm sure you're probably very well aware that when it comes to applying for scholarships, it's quite competitive. And sometimes it just happens that a university receives so many applications, and in the end, it turns out that maybe you cannot be accepted into that university that you want to be accepted, or that maybe you cannot even get accepted into any university. So this is somehow the worst case scenario. But here at CCN, we actually guarantee you with the admission into one of our CCN universities with the English program. And this guarantee is actually related to you fulfilling the university's entry requirements and passing our IFP for EP classes. And actually, there is another quite valuable thing about this admission is that you choose 3 universities, and actually the first university can kind of be your Plan A university. So this Plan A university can be like your dream university, some university that has a quite high entry requirement and that you would really like to go to, but you're not sure if in the end you can actually meet these requirements and also get the highest IFP for EP scores, but it is somehow your dream and you would still like to apply. So this is somehow your Plan A. But then we also provide you with 2 other applications. So you have this safety net that you can fall back on. And then to maximize your scholarship opportunity, we also reserve the scholarship places for you. About the scholarships, actually, I would like to explain a little bit more. So we actually have 2 different products when it comes to IFP for EP. So we have the most standard program, which is IFP for EP, and we have the more premium product, which is IFP Plus for EP. So this most standard IFP for EP, of course, you have 3 choices of universities, as I said, but when it comes to the scholarship guarantee, so the lowest possible scholarship is this A3. So this is the one that I mentioned before, the 50% of tuition fee or equivalent. But it doesn't mean that you will definitely just get A3. This is just our guarantee, but you still have the opportunity to get a higher scholarship. You still have the opportunity to get A1 or even A2. So for this one, our more premium product, so IFP Plus for EP, this we developed it with this idea in mind that this would be for the best students, the students with the most impressive educational background, to help and support you more if you are such a student. So again, we have 3 university choices, so this doesn't change at all. But when it comes to the scholarship, the minimum that we guarantee is A2. But of course, you still have the opportunity to get a higher scholarship. So you can get the best, the highest amount of scholarship, which, as we talked about, is A01, or you can get A02 or even A1. Okay, so the last section that I would like to mention today to you is actually about our preparation. So how do we actually prepare for entering the degree program? So we already talked about that there is quite a lot of distance that you have to overcome when you make this move from the Indonesian cultural and academical background into the Chinese cultural and academical background. So in the cultural sphere, we have, of course, the language. To be honest, I've had a few classmates that maybe didn't prepare exactly that they will move. I mean, how it will be to live in China. And they were quite in this cultural shock when they finally arrived. And I think it affected a little bit their studies in the beginning. But if you can prepare a little bit in advance for this and get to know Chinese culture, I think it can help you really a lot. And in the academic sphere, of course, we have, as I said, Chinese universities. They are a little bit special because they require a certain level of Chinese language to graduate, and they also sometimes require mathematics, which can be quite hard for us as international students. So how does CCN actually help you to prepare? So in the most basic level, we have just a checkup of how your efficiency, how is your academic ability, and what is your motivation for studying in China. So we help you check these three aspects, and then if we also advise you if you can still improve them in any way. And of course, we always encourage you to keep practicing spoken English, because of course you will enter a degree that is taught in English, but also to prepare for the interview by the universities, which you have to pass to be accepted, of course. To further help you with this interview, we have a special interview training, which I will introduce a little bit later. And lastly, we also have the IFP for EP, where you will study Chinese. I will also talk a little bit more about this. So in this interview training that I mentioned before, we actually prepared 3 sessions that will help you to prepare. The first session is this interview guide. So we explain the most basic things about the interview process. So what to expect in the interview, on which platform you will have the interview, and really basic things like that. And in the second session, then we have an interview case study. So here we talk about what type of questions to expect and what is the best way to answer this type of questions. Because I'm sure that you will agree with me that sometimes we have to think a little bit about how to respond if we want to make a really good answer. And then in the last session, we have a mock interview. So this is actually a simulation of the real interview that will happen later on with the university. So you will enter a call with us, and then you will have to answer our questions. So everything will basically be exactly the same as later on when you enter into the university's interview. And then we have, of course, the IFP for EP. Finally, this actually includes 200 hours of Chinese. We have this comprehensive Chinese course. So this covers 100 hours. And here you will really learn about Chinese grammar, about new vocabulary and things like that. And the other very important part, in my opinion, is listening and speaking, because as foreigners, sometimes we actually know Chinese, but we are afraid to speak it. There can be quite some difficulty in communication sometimes if we don't practice enough. And lastly, we also have reading and writing. So this is 40 hours here. So for this year, actually teaching will start on June 22nd. That's almost 1 month away. And it will last for 8 weeks. We will end it in August the 12th. And actually, every day you will be learning for around 5 hours. So I think this is still somehow acceptable. You can take it as a entertaining summer activity, so that it's not too much for you not to enjoy. And then I would also like to tell you about other services we provide you with. So these services include just university counseling, so which program to choose, which university to choose, and then university and scholarship application, and also university admission. And lastly, we also provide you with certain arrival services if the universities will decide to bring you back to China to study offline. Yeah, so this is basically a very short introduction to our IFP for EP. I hope you enjoyed, and now we'll have a Q&A session so you can ask any question that you still might have about this program. Okay, thank you.